All right. Finally, welcome to another podcast with IFBB Pro Emeric Delzceg. We're here today. We're going to talk about our TRT protocol and a few of the things that are misconceptions with the androgen receptors and dosing, things like that. Guys always think that it's about the amount of the product they're taking rather than what they're using, what we call free testosterone, and what the marriage of Humanofort, try to understand that a little better, how it helps so much. We'll touch base on several things with that. Basically, I let Emeric be the one that kind of holds the conversation, but I try to translate a little bit sometimes. Sometimes people think Emeric's accent's a little thick. I'm very used to it, so I know everything he's saying, but sometimes I just clarify it and speak it in a little bit of layman's terms for everybody. But first off, we want to talk about some of the confusion that guys have, that they used to think that their androgen receptors would become saturated, and that's why they would have to come off of these high doses and then resensitize to them again. Resensitize is correct in a sense, because the androgen receptors, as we've found, downregulate, much similar to insulin receptors would if somebody becomes type 2 diabetic. But Emeric, I'll let you start explaining that a little bit.
It's a confusion because some people, they say you have to clean your receptors dirty, that they're not saturated, or for example, most of the gurus, they say that your receptors are exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
They're not exhausted. So it's no study fully understanding what's happening, because there was no study conducted, because no gonna go spend millions make a study for bodybuilders,
Yeah.
Okay, so they had male clinics for a very low testosterone level, naturally very low. For those, they have some studies, but they are way outdated. They was really outdated. Some physicians tell inject you every 10 days 200 milligram, or every week 100 milligram. So it's all a theory regarding what's happening. I didn't conduct a study, but what I've been experimenting for over 20 years, and people following this protocol, they are responding, they are getting healthy. Injectables versus high doses. Now, many things can happen. So, first of all, the androgen receptors are oversaturated. What can happen? The androgen receptors, they have a signaling. They have to signal. Yeah. Also, it's no study conducted what happens with the growth factors. It's no study. Okay. Also, they no study regarding it's the ligand. The ligand, which is fibers go as ligand to the receptors, and we're talking about intracellular receptors. That's very important. That's regarding the steroid hormones. So can be more than one thing together, like a package. So my way interpretation, you have things. One, the androgen receptors stop signaling. Second, the fibrous growth factor in a body can be one of them downregulated. Once it's downregulated, then the normal cell communication is interrupted. So you have cell communication. So then also your adrenal cortex output is totally messed up. With high dose, it's impossible. Your adrenal cortex output is not normal anymore, because your body operating on a synthetically injected hormones, not what your adrenal cortex put out. Also, definitely the hypothalamus is always a big mess. So it's a whole package. So just focus on cleaning the androgen receptors is not your thing. You have to restore many things.
Yeah.
Okay, when you restore all these points I was mentioning, they function normally. And this cell communication and signaling, it seems like when you have a protocol will follow something like your body would produce normally, plus you supply your body with the necessary growth factors because some of them are not probably in good range and some they're out range. So you supply your body with something will able to keep everything on control, regulating, then you have no problem. Everything is functioning normal. And your cortex output is normal, your hypothalamus function is normal, so you have a normal body function free of disease, and you don't have to worry all kind of side effect can occur when the hypothalamus doesn't function normally. Medical doctors cannot point you what kind of health issues can be, all kind of stuff, can be cancer, can be diabetes, all sorts of things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice from what I see on not couple of people's now, I have worldwide thousands using the protocol, and all the feedback back is unbelievable. So
right.
It's not necessary. See this high doses. If you want to do a high dose, of course, I cannot force somebody to take 104 milligram a week or less. Usually, they are going to take more because this guru or that guru or that guru that said, and then around the corner was taking this, others don't take it. But you have to look. All these guys they are abusing for many years. How they look right now in the present, because your life doesn't end at age 45.
Right.
You can enjoy life over 60. I'm over 70, and I'm doing this life as good as I was in 20s, and I'm healthy and I'm happy, and I look forward each day to get up and be productive and go work out. I feel happy instead worry about do I going to wake up tonight? And tomorrow I'm going to wake up or I'm going to die during the sleep. So,
Emeric, your physique.
The reason I mentioned this to you, when I came to United States and coming down to California from Ohio, I made a quick stop in Santa Monica. So I went to Gold Gym, and one of my Romanian friends who was a bellboy at hotel with Ali Mala, he was a professional bodybuilder, and Ali Mala told me that, and he was on a small dose. I mean, we're talking about 400 milligram test maximum. Mm-hmm. And back then they were about, do I going to wake up in the morning or not? So I remember when he told me that, that this health is more important. Unfortunately, bodybuilders, they think if they step up on the stage, Mr. Olympia, it's money, it's no money, it's no money. So health is more important. Health is more important. So going back, this androgen, clean receptors, etc., that's all baloney. You cannot take care the issues by lowering your testosterone 200 milligram. It's not going to solve the problem. Not even 140 milligram. So my suggestion, whatever you do right now, 1,000 milligram, 400, 500 milligram, just lower the dose, no more than 10 milligram. Some people would do very well even with 6 milligram daily, between 6 and 10 milligram.
Yeah.
I have one pro bodybuilder who is on this 10 milligram Humanofort for over a year now, and his total testosterone with the 10 milligram is 1,500. So this person can lower and maybe just but work, and if it's still around 1,300, then he will be really fine with just 6 milligram, and he can just bless with 10 milligram, because when you have 1500 total testosterone, I consider blasting.
Yeah, it's a little high.
Really want to do some blasting, just try 20 milligram a day, but it's very important to do 10 milligram every 12 hours, or if you have good response with 8 milligram right now, then you can go 16 milligram. Count the half-life by days, you go by hours. That's entire misconcept, because once we disciplinate the superphysiological level, the peak high, and in about 10.5 hours. So after 1 hour, you come down a little. Now what came down, now half-life of what came down. So you're not anymore counting the 10 milligram, what was 10.5 hours after. Now after 1 hour, probably your testosterone drops. Let's just put a number. Maybe after 10 hours, you have 1200 or 1300, yeah? So after 1 hour, it's not anymore 1300, it comes down maybe to 1200. Now you go the 1200 half-life, and following hours again. So you go by hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot think that the termination half-life is 4.5 days. Then for 4.5 days, you're going to have, no, it's just by hours. Go by hours, not by days.
Well,
Yeah.
And I can add to this, Emeric, just because I have experience with the high doses. You know that when I was competing, when I was younger, I hired one of the gurus, and the dosages were retarded. And then even thinking that it's about all the different compounds. And I'm helping a lot of guys now and consulting some doctors myself with your protocol that we've come to know so well. And I'll explain here what you were trying to say again, to hopefully maybe clear it up for some people. People have always thought that it's about the dosage. It's not. It's about the fact that you have some free testosterone to use. And
Yes.
SHBG is a huge factor in this. SHBG, steroid hormone binding globin. This is what, when you are out of range, your body releases more of this to bind to that testosterone and bring your levels down to normal range. Now, it doesn't matter if, if you're taking 600 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams, it will bring you down to normal levels. So after you're on it for so long, the reason you quit gaining is because if you went and got blood work done, your levels would be like 1,200, but you're taking 1,000 milligrams of shit. And all these guys used to think it was receptor saturation. Receptors actually downregulate, just like when somebody's eating too much sugar and releasing too much insulin, it downregulates insulin receptors and they become type 2 diabetic. In a sense, you become androgen diabetic. Okay.
Yes.
If you were to say it generically. So
resistant.
Yeah, you're resistant to it. Now, if your levels never go above what your body would detect as normal range, around 1,000 nanograms per deciliter, those don't happen. Your body will function just fine, but your test levels will be at the top end of normal. No, it's about having just a little bit more to use. That's it. The free test. All these morons think it's about taking 500 milligrams of this or 700 milligrams of this or 800 milligrams of this. It's the fact that you have a little more free testosterone to use. These are down in the 40 to 100 nanograms per deciliter numbers, and that's what matters. Now, if you're, and then all these guys, I'm going to say it's ignorant, and you've dealt with it for years, Emeric. It's frustrating as hell because you try to get it to them, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I was afraid to come down too much, so I'm taking 30 milligrams a day," or you're still out of range. It doesn't matter at that point. If you're taking 300 milligrams or you're taking 1,000 fucking milligrams, you're out of range. And the same thing's going to happen. Your hypothalamus is shut down. Your pituitary and adrenal cortex run off the hypothalamus. The adrenal cortex is what regulates the androgens, and it regulates the receptors. So when that suffers, that's why these guys even become less sensitive to caffeine. They're drinking all this pre-workout. It's because their adrenal cortex is shot, as you know. And when you bring the levels down and you're mimicking the body's natural function, the testicles don't even shut down. Your testicles will come back as long as you're using Humanofort. So you have the growth factors to regenerate the hypothalamus and the testes. That's all of that's running normal. So the body runs perfectly fine, and these guys can still grow. Now, the blasting, if you were to take 10 milligrams every 12 hours, you're actually doubling your free test. And if you did that for a short period of time, come back down, that would give you the same results as going from 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams. And no matter how many times we'd explain this to guys, they're still too ignorant to get it through their head. They don't understand it. But that's how it all works. If you're on, and what used to happen before, we would, let's say you're on 1,000 milligrams of shit, and then all of a sudden you come off, let's say you go to 200 milligrams, because your SHBG and estrogen conversion are so high, you get this horrible crash. And any little bit of testosterone that you have is being bound and converted, and guys feel like shit, but it has lowered, it has come down, and then they panic and they go on like 400 milligrams and they feel good because that kind of levels them out there, and they think, oh, this is the least I can be on, which is complete fucking bullshit. From there, you gotta, if you're on these retarded doses, you gotta just tough it out for a little while. And I do have some things that I do to help guys come down from that. But I have multiple guys now that are doing the 10 milligrams a day with Humanofort, and they are growing and getting stronger, and it's blowing their minds. And one guy said, Mike, I feel like I took the red pill, like in the Matrix, because he's seeing it differently now. And now when he takes 20 milligrams, he'll put on 3 pounds of muscle and then come back down and maintain it, just like when you used to go from 500 to 1,000. Because no matter, we're saying your levels will be the same because your SHBG and estrogen conversion aren't through the roof. And when you're resensitized to the androgens through using Humanofort and not being out of range, you actually are responding to these doses like you would have the first time you ever took anything. It's that simple. It's a fact. And every single person, every fucking one that does the 10 milligrams with Humanofort eventually levels out and starts growing and feeling better. Their nuts come back and they grow just like they did on the higher doses. Every one. We have testimonials up the wazoo. People need to listen.
For those they don't do even blood work. Once you lose your sex drive, your SBGA, it's up high.
Yep.
And then what they do on 500 milligrams, they lose no sex drive, then go for 800 milligrams, still no sex drive. So they like adding gasoline on the fire.
Yep.
They do exactly. So all this 10 milligrams, I'm telling guys, you know what? Are you sure? I said, do it for 8 weeks. And they panicking, I'm going to get small. So you're not going to get small in 8 weeks.
Isn't that ignorant? Just be afraid to do something for 8 weeks.
Do for 8 weeks and listen what's happened. Another pro bodybuilder, I'm not going to mention name, he's been exactly, this is 4th week on. So far, he said he didn't lose no strength, and his sex drive is just unbelievable. And I think he's right now close to his 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So all that receptor cleaning and all those baloney is not true. It's like I said, it's not one thing. Could be 4 different things, but also hormones. Yeah, testosterone is very important, of course, but they have to understand that the growth factors are the one have differentiating stem cells in the body, not the testosterone. So, the muscle stem cells, very important, for recovery is the growth factors. The testosterone is very important, but to longevity, recovery, it's just really minor.
Well, after taking too much testosterone for a while, the hypothalamus shrinks, and without the growth factors from Humanofort, that won't come back.
Exactly.
It'll start functioning again. It'll start functioning again, but it's still going to be less because it's not at full potential. The Humanofort helps the hypothalamus regenerate, and it's what actively upregulates the androgen receptors.
Yeah. You see, the receptors and ligands, they come in many forms, but what they have all in common, they come closely match pairs, like pairs. Okay, now the ligands for receptors is the fibrous growth factor family. Those are acting ligand to receptors. I'm talking about not just androgen receptors, every receptors. Also, they involved in nutrition absorption. They involved also in tendon, ligaments, skin regeneration.
Yeah, we see the skin regeneration on everybody.
So people, they were confusing the Humanofort. They thought that this replaced drugs. No. It doesn't replace. Drug cannot replace what's in Humanofort. You can do also testosterone injection, trembolone, Vinstro, etc. But these growth factors are the way it's in Humanofort engine and the endogenous form. That's it's in creating life. So taking one peptide separately or other peptide, IGF-1, that's just a really small part of equation.
That's not replacing anything. You're just adding to.
And then also, it seems like I saw a study somewhere that when you testosterone levels way out range, it's upregulated fibrous growth factor 23. When it's upregulated too out, that can cause heart issues and other health issues, even cancer. So that's another reason you need to regulate these growth factors.
Yeah.
So just taking high testosterone is not just the cholesterol, not just the ventricular heart, it's also damaging the growth factor levels.
Yep.
And that's very important. There's no studies on this, hopefully someday, but because I'm being in this growth factor and reading and consulting other biomolecular scientists, it all comes down that if you keep your growth factors in normal range and all the normal cell communication, you can live easy over 100 years. It's, Plus, these growth factors also involved in keeping activated your telomeres. So that's another reason.
Yeah. And I know I'm saying this, and well, our podcast's gonna end here in like 10 minutes. We had a timer on it, but you're the leading guy in the world, Emeric, for growth factors as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there's many people in the world that have more knowledge than you. Do you?
I think some research clinic in Switzerland, and also some other scientists, like a Japanese scientist who explained the messaging RNA, they have more knowledge. I'm trying to learn as much, but definitely I know more than just regular medical doctors, family doctors.
So you got like 2 places in the world that might know more than you.
But I'm learning some of both. I'm learning this. I'm learning many things, reading publication and research by this scientists involved in growth, also telomeres.
Well, you're a gift to the world. You're a gift to the bodybuilding world. And
also, I understand these growth factors, the Humanofort and these growth factors, is not only man.
Oh yeah, by far, women.
Cat,
It's for
all
humans.
mammals have everything the same, everything, you know, and it's just next time I would like to talk the benefits for women.
Yeah,
I can say
there's a lot of unique benefits for women.
I can say that then altogether in the last 20 years. This year, for some reason, women start looking into it, and probably because they see the husband and they're
Yeah,
asking the husband, you husband messaging, calling me, said, it's good for my wife. I said, it's good for your pets, everybody. So this year I had more women, this year more women than all women I had altogether in 20 years. So this year it was like something very special year for the women because they are start to learn and they start feeling benefits. So
yeah.
entire
Yeah,
family.
and you know, I have plenty of women taking it as well, and especially women that take care of themselves start noticing the benefits the most. People that eat right and work out and are in tune with their body, then they really start noticing it. And a lot of women that took birth control in the past and have had hypothalamus function problems, just like guys on too much testosterone, they start actually noticing the differences as well because their adrenal cortex starts coming up. Even their thyroid function starts to get better.
Okay. Also,
These,
a message for those people. They've been doing the 10 milligram and telling me it doesn't work because you didn't do the Humanofort. I'm telling everybody,
yeah,
10 milligram of course good, but to restore your hypothalamus and neocortex output, you need the Humanofort because you need those growth factors,
yeah.
which are growth factors
I've
are
seen
not.
people ignorantly do that as well. Yeah,
So growth factors, they're not hormones. They function like as almost like hormones, but they're not particularly in a hormone category.
right, right. They actually help, they make it possible for the hormones to do what they need to do. They're the
Yeah,
ones that
well, because
set the chain of events in order to which then the hormones can actually do what they need to do. Without the
these
growth
growth
factors,
factors,
the hormones are
yeah,
useless.
because these growth factors act as a ligand to the receptors. The androgen receptor is included also. Now,
Yes.
it's like I said, it's no study on regarding androgen receptors, but the results I'm
They're
seeing
they're there.
thousands. Once they add the Humanofort to the 10 milligram, just in a couple of days they call me, oh my god! And
Yep.
today I had another beautiful message from another gentleman who owns a gym in Florida, and he's
Yeah.
over 50. And he did his blood work, and he just tells me that they want to thank me so much. Then he's so happy that come across on a Facebook what we're doing, you and me. And he's listening protocol, and he said he's healthier than ever.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, buddy. Everybody that's actually, I'm going to say man enough to just try it for 8 weeks finally comes to me and says, Mike, I can't believe how good I feel. There's guys coming off of 400 milligrams of test and they're gaining muscle and strength and they feel great. Their blood pressure problems, because your blood pressure gets erratic.
Oh yes,
They get acid reflux. They start getting grogginess, depression, anxiety, because everything's so out of whack. This is the same thing that happens with women with birth control pills, and I'm going to add there as well. This isn't just specific to men, but every single one of them that actually goes on the protocol with Humanofort within weeks gets a hold of me and says, oh my God, I can't believe how good I feel. One guy that contacted you, he's willing to do a testimonial. His name's Jeremy. Do you remember? He said,
yes.
and he was working under one of the gurus we know.
Yeah, I
And
know.
he
I
said,
know.
Mike, I've put on 2 pounds of muscle. I can't believe this is fucking happening. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I talked to our good buddy, Dr. Jakewish the other day, and I told him, I said, with the variable resistance and our diet and TRT and Humanofort, we honestly, the possibilities are endless. We can have some of the healthiest, we're going to have some of the best physiques in the world, and they're going to be some of the healthiest people in the world as well. We're going to be able to bodybuild till we're 100 years old and still look good.
The size the muscle gets from working very seriously, hardly, challenging body, and the nutrition. Because that, for example, if you have somebody taking testosterone, it doesn't matter how much, just take something, it doesn't train his legs. The legs stay skinny.
Yeah, they get stick legs. If it was the drugs, how come your legs are this big around?
If you go from that injecting testosterone, then you just inject and sit all day long and you're gonna grow. So and training is very important. And then we're gonna go more in details with this variable training system, because that's the future. That's the future, and we'll talk about that also in a couple new podcasts and making some videos.
Yes.
You watch videotapes, you watch Lee Haney, you watch all the Mr. Olympia and the pro bodybuilders. It's the same thing: bench press, incline, shoulders. You're watching, you learn nothing.
It's the same exact workout over and over and over and over again.
And then one guy says, you have to do only.
You got to do 3 sets. You got to do 4 sets. You got to do 1 set. It's
3 seconds down, up, and different tempos, etc. So you're gonna put size on. It doesn't matter what kind of workout. You're gonna put some muscle on, but depend how much you put on.
Right.
I see guys at the gym for years since they look the same, and if you look this how they work out, they never put their muscle through a pleasure, a torture, but a pleasure torture,
right?
Because they say a pain when you have a torn tendons or you break your bones. That's a different pain. It's a pain created by pump and sort of muscle burning. And if that becomes a pleasure, then you have the gain. If I'm sore, I'm not going to do that. So you have to put your mind there and enjoy that little pain during the workout happens from that pump and burning the muscle became a pleasure. And when it becomes a pleasure, you have the gain. When you say no pain, no gain, it's correct, but the pain, you have to enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got 1 minute left here of record time, but so I'll cut it off here, brother. But let's do another one soon. We'll talk about women. I really want to